Make a few observations about this painting by Watteau. The title is Pastoral Pleasure, painted between 1714 and 1716. I'm sure it didn't take him 2 years to paint this, but I think art historians think it's somewhere between those 2 years he did this work. So to begin, I want to look at the large value movements. These would be the sort of first things apparent if you saw this painting in a museum and you walked across a room towards it. You'd first note the big um, value movement. So I'll start with the darker values in the upper right. There's sort of this, it looks like a pulsation between a cool green, dark cool green, and a warm red, moving from the upper right, and then it goes around the left side and then to the bottom, pretty much taking the whole bottom, and then ending on the far right. And then you have a large piece of very light gray. You call it white. It gathers in the top right, and then much of it sits on the upper part of the painting. And it also, you can see right away, sort of jumps in from the upper right, and then at different points pops itself into the the darker movement. So you have the girl dancing. Pretty much the whole figure is very light. You have moments in the crowd next to them. You can see the sleeve of looks like a shepherdess trying to avoid a seduction of sort. And then the dog. We have a dog who's, well, I'm not going to say what the dog's doing, but there's something for everybody in this painting. So there's that movement across the surface, and then there's these overlaps of the large movements, and the light overlapping the dark from the back space to the front. That's sort of played out in different parts of the painting in a minor key. Let me also point out sort of movement that's very common in this work, that sort of which links up all of the different parts of the painting. So you have a spiral, and I guess we could start again with the dark movement from the upper right, and then it goes down to the big one that goes down, covers most of the bottom of the painting, then goes to the right side, and then if you continue the momentum, it goes into the trees, and then you're pushed, if you follow down the girl on the swing, back into the crowd, and you're going, and it's not concentric, it's a spiral, but there's a continued movement around and around, connecting all the different parts of the composition, and rotating you through and among the figures and the different, you're sort of moving back and forth between the elements. So that's sort of taking a look at the larger points of the painting. I now want to focus on the figures, particularly the dancing figures. So I want to point out that if you look at the female figure dancing, within herself, you can sort of see a condensed version of the painting or the light part of the painting. She has the sort of coolish yellow. There's a blue sash, which it's hard to tell, but I believe there's some blue in the sky. It's not evident in this photo. And anyway, in general, she's a cool and lighter moment. And the male figure is warm, red and yellow, sort of yellow ochre. I guess we would call those shorts. The red shirt. And I know that there's moments of lightness and coolness on him, but and as well there's warmer moments on the female figure. But in general, these two are light and warm, and I think they sort of, again, they personify these two larger movements in the painting. It's almost as if the painting itself can be called a reflection of these figures. I mentioned the spiral movement and the circular movement through this painting. You can also see that simply in their dance. They are, I guess, the male figure is moving to his left or right. The woman looks like she's stepping forward, so she's moving to the left, or left, of course. And that in itself is sort of a miniature version of the painting, seen large. I don't, maybe this isn't obvious to follow. It's certainly not. I don't think Watteau is hitting us over the head with any of these aspects I'm pointing out. It's, this isn't like one of these paintings. There was a discussion about a painting made about 15 years ago where it's big and you walk in to a museum and they give you this 4-page cheat sheet and every object is, this person represents this and then this object represents that. And then, you have to read 4 pages and then you get to the end of the 4 pages and then you understand the painting. Like this is a different, I'm talking about something different here. So I could even point towards, so we have the rotation, the sort of colors are brought or condensed of the painting are condensed in these figures, and the figures themselves, the motions between the two dancers are, again, it's reflected out into the world around them. You can even sort of see the angle of the hands is tilting, and it looks like if they were to be given a moment of time, it would be tilted even further. I would say from about 20 degrees, so down basically the same direction of the middle tree to the right of the woman on the swing there. So she's that gives the direction that the hands are pointing towards, and that's a governing. It's almost if the hands of the dancers are governing the forms of the painting, or giving this direction that you can feel that flowing through the whole painting. So that's something I wanted to point out, that you have this painting where all these things are happening, and then you have, the figures themselves, kind of translating all of that into a human form. All the movements and all the action is sort of brought into this dance between these two figures. It almost has the sense that the natural world gets its bearings from the movement of the dancing, and almost the aspirations of the dancers is played out in the world around them. And I don't want to sound too highfalutin, but the movement between the dancers and the natural world, and what I've been pointing out, is almost like a dance in itself. There's a sense of harmony that exists between the dancers and the world around them, including the people that we sort of participate in as well. So you could say, fine, the dance itself and the two figures and the directions between them, they govern the painting, but who governs the dancers? And then, of course, you look at the musician, and so Watteau has at the bottom of the tree, given almost pride of place right in the center of the painting is a musician. Musicians are very common in Watteau's paintings, and you see he's given a very sort of subtle color, perhaps not that subtle, certainly the brown, but it looks like the pants perhaps were once upon a time a more, sort of almost like a pink or a purple. Anyway, right, so Watteau has this musician sort of playing his tune, and then the dancers sort of go into motion, and then the motion sets the rest of the painting. You can even see that the musical instrument the musician's playing, I guess I don't know if that would be sort of a lute, but it's curved in a direction that echoes the movement of the dance. Anyway, so I just wanted to point out a couple of things about this painting. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks.